Is equally well known as a writer and author.
All right. Did I do it? Shukriya. Thank you.
अच्छा मैं ये ऑन है अब ऑन है मैं इसको अपनी तरफ कर सकती हूँ परफेक्ट अब मैं बंद कर देती हूँ
Hello, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to chair this session with Shadana Minhas, an author who I've read over many years. Not saying you're old, but I've read all five of your novels. She is an award winning author of five novels, as I said. Most recently, her novel Firdos Nama was, yes, Firdos Nama was recently published. And it's a fascinating story of creative fictional account set in the 16th century, Mughal India. It features an unlikely quartet. I like to call them the Fantastic Four of that time. Um, there's a painter of miniatures, there's a tracker, there's a warrior, and there's also the eponymous Firdos, who I have a great fondness for. And it's fascinating because this is a kind of hunting party. I think a reviewer referred to them as a special operative of that time. They're out there um, trying to stave off all these crises that will perhaps, affect the great Mughal, who is referred to as the light of the world, and we'll get to that in a minute. But most of your fiction has been written in a contemporary vein, and this is you venturing into historical territory. I was just wondering what led to that shift.
Thank you Taha it's great to be here and in conversation with you I actually a few years ago I moved from Karachi after 45 years here
Mm-hmm.
and I moved to another country where I was often asked where I was from and I started researching. I did things like ancestry DNA tests.
Really?
Yes, I did deep dives into my own history because I became curious about, when you're in your own country, you sort of take yourself for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're somewhere else, you really look at yourself through other people's eyes. And I wanted to see what they were seeing. So I did an ancestry DNA test. I found that, I'm from all over South Asia. And I developed a deeper interest in my own history and the history of the region, and I started reading deeply. And I was upstairs in your wonderful creative writing workshop a little while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and these really intelligent young writers, 14, 15, were talking about Islamic mythology, right?
Yes, they were.
So one of the best things about being in a country where you have access to archives and libraries is you can then access deeper history because often those records are not available to you here. So I started looking at a whole lot of old manuscripts, looking at artwork, reading old texts that are not available here, and we take inspiration from whatever we consume,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it started. And I was also simultaneously watching Tiger King on Netflix and
And
The
the
Witcher.
influence is there. It's
Yeah,
not like it isn't there.
yeah. So think of it. So basically, what was happening in my head was a khichdi of Tiger King, The Witcher, um, Ibn Battuta's travels, and Kalila Vadimna, and the Katha Sarit Sagara, and the Panchatantra, and all these old manuscripts that I had been reading, and it sort of then came out somewhere.
It's interesting that you mention all these different influences, especially the historical influences, because it seems like a lot of research has gone into depicting the palaces, the landscapes. Could you tell me a little bit about that? Even to the nitty gritties of it, the animal cages have also been described quite vividly, and they come to life almost as if you were a spectator to those moments in history. It's
Well, I mean,
interesting.
that's our job, right? We're
Yeah.
supposed to do that.
Well, I mean, what you can say it's our job, but it's
Yeah,
not the easiest job out there. I think people just assume we know it all, but do we?
yeah. No, I mean it's hard work. You have
Yeah.
to, you basically basically, to be a writer is to use words to build pictures in the minds of whoever is reading those words, right? Your words should program their brain to see things. That's literally the craft of what we do. People like to toss the word art around, but along with an art, it's a craft. And you are a craftsperson. So, and I have been working with this material for some years now. Actually, it's been very interesting for me being back here after living here all my life and then going away and then coming back, and suddenly people want to talk to me about my work. So I'm one of those people who are thinking, अच्छा 5 साल पहले तो आपको कोई दिलचस्पी नहीं थी. You know, अब आप मुझसे पूछ रहे हैं अपने काम के बारे में बताएं. So
Let's also talk a little bit about your previous work, because
Yeah.
your work does not, I mean, it's very difficult to categorize it into one thing. Okay, she writes about this. She doesn't write about just one thing. She writes about multiple things. So, was it, I mean, what is your process technically when you start a new book? Is there a different motivation for it? Where does it come from? Because they're vastly different from each other, every book.
Yeah.
There are certain strands that, like, there's a common thread that runs through it all, but there is something different about every book.
What do you think are the common threads, Taha?
I want to get to that, but we'll talk about that in a bit, but I want to know what your process is.
So my process has always been the same, and my process is almost mystical. I have always believed that stories travel through the world all the time, and they float around, and they just land on people. And if you are in a receptive state, then they will possess you, and then you have to tell them, right? So at any moment in time, depending on how open you are to inspiration, inspiration is available to you. So my process has always been finding time to write in an otherwise packed life. I mean, I am also a mother. I have children between the ages of 23 and 9. Now, I don't mean every year between 23 and 9.
I'd be scared for you, but
that
okay.
would be impressive, but no, 9, 20, and 23. And, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into
That is a
simply
handful, yeah.
maintaining human relationships. And it's not necessarily work that writers are good at, which makes it even more challenging. So one has to have the bandwidth to receive a story, and one has to have solitude to respect the story. And the act of writing itself is just a tiny part of it. Right?
So you asked me about the common threads. The one common thread are the animals. I mean, they're not in every novel, but animals in Firdaus Nama, as I told you, I asked you to speak to my students upstairs at the creative writing workshop about how they're not just plot devices you throw in, like the tiger, or should I call it the liger? Is that what it is?
It's a
yes,
liger,
the
yeah.
liger. There's no tiger here. There's a liger. They're not plot devices.
No.
They are at the emotional core of your story. So what made you place them at the heart of the story, and how, I mean, you've depicted them quite realistically. And I was just wondering what kind of research went into that as well.
So I'm really glad you asked that question. I think I'm going to say something that will seem like it's coming out of nowhere, but it's actually related. So I read a quote by a poet recently about mother tongues, right? That's also another question that is very popular in contemporary discourse, wherever you are. What is your mother tongue? I mean, right behind me yesterday there was a Pakistani mother languages, right? So I think, like this poet said, our mother tongue is wordlessness. We all have the same mother tongue. It's wordlessness, right? There is no tongue.
There is no tongue.
Right? And I don't know if you must be, the word bezuban, right? बचपन में हम सब सुनते थे कि पत्थर ना मारो, ये बेजुबान है, right? Because, and so I think animals for me have always been bezuban. And I think that since I am now interested in what it means to be alive and who I am and who we are, I think central to the heart of all of that is the idea of wordlessness. And animals are that. They are just as sentient, as intelligent, and as feeling as we are, but we don't speak their language. But I think that I can sometimes feel what animals are feeling. I can feel their misery. Anyone can feel their misery.
It's because you're a writer and you're empathetic. Yeah, primarily.
I don't think writers are empathetic. I
Really?
think, yeah.
That's another conversation,
Huh.
but yes.
And
But-
also when I was a kid, I had, there's a history in my mother's side of the family of being very protective of animals. So हमारे बचपन में हम यानी कि जंगली कुत्ता मिला तो उसको घर उठा के ले आए.
Ah.
Right? There are people like that. So I was one of those people. And then I have friends who are always who have been devoted to animal welfare for years through Paws Pakistan. And yeah, it's,
So this other common thread that I was talking about, I don't want to get too deep into it because I might be giving out too much of the plot.
बता
But-
दें किसी ने पढ़ी
नहीं,
नहीं है,
नहीं,
पढ़ेंगे भी
नहीं,
अभी
पढ़ेंगे.
Cliff notes दे दें.
No one is allowed to leave without ordering the copy. Your protagonist here, Firdaus, is like, I don't want to give too much away, but she's an enigma. There is a lot about her that we don't know, and yet there is a lot we can imagine. Yet she's at the heart of the story. She's telling us, she's basically the chronicler, and she's obviously, we'll get to the narrative making bit later, but she is almost like a cipher through the narrative, yet she's the one propelling the story forward. There's a point where they leave her behind in the story, and she says, okay, see, I'm paraphrasing here, but they almost forgot that I wasn't there with them, and yet she's the one telling the story. And I want to link this to your previous works, especially Tunnel Vision, which I adored. It's a story about a woman who is comatose, and she may be inert and in one place, but her mind is palpably alive. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the portrayal of such characters,
Yeah,
Wait.
thank you for asking me that. That's
where you
because-
take something
yeah.
away from them, but you give them something else.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I didn't think of it that way. So I think one theme that has been common through my work is the idea of disassociation. And my first novel, Tunnel Vision, what happens is a Karachi woman, who I think is a thing, right? A Karachi woman is a particular kind of beast. And she has a car accident and she goes into a coma and she has to decide if she wants to come back into her body or not. Right? Or just hang around. And it was a metaphor for life as a woman of intelligence in the world, right?
Interesting.
And I think that is persisted. So, and Firdaus Nama is in a way of continuation of that, right? To move through the world as an intelligence and an observation. And often with Firdaus Nama, I guess, I'm just a better writer now than I used to be. So the
You're
tone is
equally good
different.
now and better.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the idea of the disassociated intelligence floating through space. I also wanted to take away the idea of beauty. Right?
Fascinating.
So, Firdaus is also an enigma because it is hard to place her because we don't know what she looks like.
Yeah,
And how often do you judge a woman by what she looks like? All the time.
all the time.
So what if I give you a woman and you don't that you don't know anything about, right? How do you appreciate her? How do you read her?
But would you ever consider writing? I feel like every time I move this, something happens. Would you ever consider writing a sequel where we get to know more about Firdaus? The only thing I recall very distinctly is that she's fire scarred, but it's her mind that's pretty much alive through it all. But would you ever want to write something about, like a prequel or something?
Okay,
Or would that
so
take too much
yeah.
away from
No,
the
I mean
book?
I'll tell you a massive secret, but you can't tell anybody.
I mean, sure, I won't tell a
Yeah.
soul.
So when I wrote Firdaus Nama, one of the reasons I wrote it, like I said, I was watching The Witcher and I was watching Tiger King, and I also thought, you know what, we need a TV series, we need a Netflix series that's about us,
Huh.
that touches on our heritage, right? So I had that in mind, that Firdaus Nama was going to be a huge success, and someone was going to adapt it for Netflix or a movie, and then I would basically turn into the Pakistani George R.R. Martin, right? But I would
It'll
actually finish
happen.
the series, right? Yeah. So currently where that plan is that Firdaus Nama is not even available in Pakistan. But hope springs eternal.
No, I would like to see something more about that. Okay, so the final question I want to ask you before we open it up for an audience that's fairly active and alive to everything that's happening here, it's just the question of narrative making. She's a chronicler. She's the one. It's almost like she bears the burden. She's the vessel of whatever is going on in the other characters' lives, and she has to sort of record everything. And she's actively involved in the narrative making process. And eventually, that narrative is going to further the the territorial expansion that the great Mughal wants to go through. I just want you to talk a little bit about narrative making and what you had in mind about the process itself, and how, because it can link to a lot of issues that we discuss in contemporary
So life
politics.
is a series of constant mythologizing. I mean, we self-mythologize. I'm self-mythologizing right now, right? So nations also self-mythologize. And in this region that we live in right now, India and Pakistan are creating their own mythologies.
Exactly.
Which are actually quite distant from historical facts.
Exactly.
So I wanted to very subtly comment on that project as well, the project of reverse social engineering. And I wanted to remind people through fiction, which is using lies to tell the truth. I mean, fiction is the lies that tell the truth. That no, actually, that's not who we are, and that's not how it happened. So, yeah.
But it's interesting because even though Firdaus is involved in that process, she's self-reflexive enough to understand that, okay, whatever she's doing is furthering some agenda, clearly, right? It's interesting.
No, I don't know, sorry. This thing about, basically you're saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, that Firdaus understands that, but is just commenting on it, right?
Is commenting on it.
So I think that is also, that is the average Pakistani for you. I mean, being here again after more than a year and listening to people talk and speak, and as usual, I'm completely enamored of Pakistan. I love us.
We love ourselves too. Yeah,
we love ourselves. We're very funny. We're very smart. We have things to say. We live in a very broken, unequal society, but we still manage to find moments of joy and commentary in that.
Exactly.
So just because doesn't mean it's going to make a difference.
Exactly. So she just goes along with
it.
She's
floating along happily, going, oh,
okay. And she has some satirical comments to make. She has this biting wit and humor as well, which I wanted to, because I see it in all your other works as well. It's just there. You see it in Aisha, just the way she floats through that narrative, and just like Firdaus floats through this narrative. Yeah. Obviously, Daddy's Boy and Rafina. Rafina I was very fond of. We'll talk about that later.
Rafina
privately.
Wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny, but there was something very, there was something, we'll talk about that. There's a lot I have to say about that, but that's a private conversation. The other thing I want to draw attention to is how the narrative drifts from different genres almost. There's an adventure genre, there's mystery. So there's so much. Like, what drew you to all these genres, and why did you feel it was necessary to have these 4 separate vignettes as opposed to one big narrative? I think it...
That's a good question. Laziness,
I doubt that was it, because it's...
If I was a smarter writer, I would say I was trying to take a modular, experimental approach to creating a text, right? But actually, I was just lazy. I thought if I fill in the gaps, it's going to be, George R.R. Martin style, it's going to be like a 1,000-page book. So what I'll do is I'll assume the readers are intelligent.
And they are.
And they can fill in the gaps, because, my job as a writer is to do some programming, and then your job as a reader is to do the rest, right? A book is completed by the reader.
Definitely.
So I trust the readers. I trust that readers are able to fill in those gaps, and voila, the only person in the room who's read the book.
The only person in this room who's read it. Okay. Oh, she's read it. Excellent. Huri's read it.
There we go.
Excellent. So let's open it up to the other readers. Anything you'd like to comment on, any questions? We'll delve into the more generic questions as well. I just wanted to have this conversation about Firdaus. So,
I just wanted to know that is the book not available in Pakistan? So how we are going to read it and assess that what you have written that about the Firdaus? I thought it is a Firdaus Nama of ancient ancient history.
Yeah.
So, but it is a story of a women or what? This is what I wanted to know.
Yes, it is a story of a woman and a woman set, and it's set in the 16th century in Mughal India. And the title Nama is a reference to, a text like the Shahnameh and the Babur the Humayun Nama, which was written by his aunt. And I read the beginning of the Humayun Nama, which was written by Gulbadan Begum. But she didn't write her own history. She was writing the history of her nephew. So I thought, but her voice was so alive, and again, it had this penetrating intelligence, wit, and sensitivity. And I thought, what if a woman like that had actually written her own memoir? And maybe she did, but they've been wiped from our histories.
Exactly.
I mean, all the memoirs of women have been wiped. Like, we don't know our own history because हमारी आवाज़ें erase हो जाती हैं.
बिल्कुल.
So I was trying to fill in those gaps. And as for why it's not available here, that's an excellent question. I plan to ask every publisher that I know. Oh, look, there's a publisher in front of me. You know, what we're going to do about that? कोशिश जारी है. हम सब उम्मीद से हैं. It is not. I am one of those Pakistanis who are published out of India. So my books are available in every South Asian country except Pakistan at this moment. And even the Kindle edition is available in every South Asian country except Pakistan. No.
It's okay. I was just asked.
You should be looking for an English publisher.
I am.
Yeah.
This was my
Great,
sales
great.
pitch right now.
There you go. Anybody interested in publishing Firdaus Nama? Reveal yourself now.
Definitely. Lightstone is going to probably contact you soon.
There you
That's
have
great.
it. Well done.
No, but I should say I have nakhras. I am also a nakhra writer.
What are these nakhre?
Well, I feel that there should be, we have a burgeoning publishing industry. So we should now be internationally competitive.
I agree 100%.
Right?
Yes.
So, sorry, publishers, that's also my starting position.
How internationally competitive are you? Prove yourselves. Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The problem is that we have not read the book. Your narrative
Yeah.
Yes.
Now that I will, by the end of this year, I have read the book very soon. My copy has arrived. Have you started the next one? Because, like George R. I read
Yeah.
all the Game of Thrones before it became a TV show.
Yeah.
And then he made a TV show, and then he stopped writing, and now I hate him.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Totally hate him because I knew everything about the book
Yes.
before it became a show, right?
Yeah.
So, one, you can't do that to us.
Yeah.
You can't. So, and I think you finished Firdaus Nama some time back.
I did finish Firdaus Nama some time back, and I have actually also already written another book. It's not in the Firdaus Nama. It's not in the Firdaus verse. That sounds wrong.
Yeah, that's-
Can we think of some metaverse type thing?
Firdaus verse, yeah.
No, that doesn't sound right. Firdaus world.
Firdaus Jahan? Nahi, nahi. That's
Firdaus
that.
That's
Ye dekho.
good. See,
There you go.
this guy's a writer. Firdaus Jahan.
Chalo ji. Firdaus Jahan. So yeah, what is it about though, the new book?
The new book. So the book, because I live in another country now, I live in the UK, and that's the first novel that I've written that's set there, and it's called You People.
Oh,
So it's about.
another
Yeah.
satirical take on something. Yeah. Khair.
So I resist the word satirical because I think that we live in a post-satire world. And I have never helped myself as a writer by being impossible to categorize because my work does skip between forms and genres, and my books are hard to describe.
And that's the beauty of them. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's always good to surprise the reader and
Yes.
give them
That
something.
doesn't help publishers because, as a novelist, you have to think, well, publishers think of the business angle, right? Can I sell this? And to sell something, you need to know what it is. Because you have biscuits, you have tea. So what if you have something in between that's half biscuit and a bit of tea and it has a tail?
But have you felt that
So
you're
what are you
being,
gonna-
put into a category or
I wish I was put into a category.
Nahi,
That's
aap
my
yahi
problem.
likhe.
I don't have a category.
write about, children and survival tips for lunatics, wali territory, or write about animals, or write about now Firdaus,
Yeah, but you know, Survival Tips for Lunatics won an adult fiction award.
which was incredible.
Yeah, it was a children's book. So again, the whole categorization.
So there's no real need for categorization at the end of it. Yeah.
I mean, I met a very nice gentleman earlier who suggested to me that I, make sure that my books are available here because there's nothing like the respect of your own country. And I said to him that respect is an illusion.
It's a yeah.
Respect is an
Yeah.
illusion, and I'm okay with my life choices. So
Interesting. Good luck dealing with this.
Sorry.
Are there any other questions? Anything you'd like to? Yeah.
Hi, so I'd like to know, have you seen the adaptations of your books on screen?
I have seen one adaptation. Rafina was
Rafina's?
adapted into a film called Good Morning Karachi.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I
And-
have seen. Yeah.
And do you think that justice was done? Because I've read I was lucky enough to not only read the book, but I read the script. My husband was the male lead in that movie.
Oh,
so I want
okay.
to know. Yeah, so I want to know your take on it and what's the like. Do you find it was justified? Because I've read your writing and it was beautiful.
You know, that is, I appreciate where the question is coming from. But I think that if you give someone the right to adapt your work, then it is no longer your work. So I don't feel that it's my place to comment on Good Morning Karachi and whether it did justice to my book. I mean, because it's their film. It's no longer my book. It's their film. No, I didn't write the screenplay or anything. Basically, they adapted it from. They just optioned the novella and they adapted it. And in fact, that was done many, many years ago. The novella didn't come out. I didn't give anyone rights to the novella till 2018 or something. Yeah. So, वो film की option तो बहुत पहले उन्होंने ली थी. Yeah. Yeah. Before I even submitted it for publication. So. But it was really great. I've been really lucky in my life because I've had so many opportunities. I mean, my work was adapted for theater in Madras when it was called Madras, right? So it's really amazing how stories travel. Yeah. So anything, if it travels from one iteration to another, it's a blessing, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah. But did your husband enjoy his experience? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's
Excellent.
great.
Any other questions? Anything you'd like to comment on?
I think it's hard to know because I'm not there, and I think it's doing decently. It's doing decently. It's a tough time to be a writer, but it's always a tough time to be a writer. So it's okay.
There are undoubtedly challenges when it comes to this. Yeah, there's a.
Thank you. You said that it's always been tough being a writer. Don't you think it's increasingly difficult now with the day and age of AI?
So I actually don't think that AI is a bad thing.
I completely agree.
And I think as a novelist in particular, AI is only, so far, it's only as good as the prompt you give it. So if I asked AI to write me a novel tomorrow, it couldn't. It wouldn't be able to write me a novel of any quality. It can't sustain a narrative without you constantly giving it prompts. So I don't think that writers need to fear much from AI. I think also that AI is an excellent editor.
It is.
If you have a set idea, it's actually really good for us. It's a tool, it's a technology, just like language. So I don't think we need to be so wary of it.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's someone at the back over there. Someone, I think, yeah. Is there no one there? I don't know, someone raised their hand and then there wasn't a question. We will never know what that was all about. Okay. On that note, what are you writing now after this? And what are you curious about creatively that you could?
I've had an idea for a play, and I'm thinking of writing a play. And maybe I will. I've also really wanted to start writing true crime.
That would be amazing. I think that would be lapped up by Netflix very easily. That would be phenomenal, actually.
Yeah. I mean, why not try that, Taha?
Let's do that, yeah. On that note, it was a terrific conversation. Thank you so much, Shantana, and thank you for being a
Thank
lovely
you.
audience. And it was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. I hope to see Firdaus Nama in print in Pakistan very soon. All thanks to Lightstone, hopefully.
Me too. Thank you.